The movie begins at a funeral of an old school principal who had reached the end of his life. The person in charge of this funeral is a young and beautiful woman named Yanhua. She's then approached and questioned by a reporter who's suspicious of her identity. This is because the old principal was a terminal cancer patient. However, the strange thing is that the cause of his death was not cancer. And what's even more unbelievable is that the old man also left his entire fortune to Yanhua. However, after trying to dig deeper, the reporter doesn't get any luck and he leaves. After the funeral, the reporter goes to find Yanhua again, where she's seen to be living in a huge mansion by herself. After much persuasion, Yanhua starts sharing the story of how she met the old principal. Yanhua was a caregiver, and she was hired by a lonely man named Jung Sub to take care of him. During their first encounter, Jung Sub informs Yanhua that he's already in the late stages of cancer and is going to pass on very soon, so he wants to live a peaceful life and wants Yanhua to take care of his every need until then. Yanhua agrees to this. However, as the days follow, Jung Sub can be seen being mean towards Yanhua's care. He easily gets mad when the food's not to his liking and would ask her to massage him for long hours. Later that night, Jung Sub gets a nightmare and wakes up from his sleep. And after he does, he sees Yanhua asleep instead of watching over him. He gets mad and takes a glass of water and throws it at her to wake her up. However, she doesn't get mad and the old man goes back to sleep. As more days pass, Yanhua gradually figures out the likes and dislikes of Jung Sub, and he slowly becomes more lenient towards her, and the two of them start becoming closer. One night, he brings her to a reunion party, and one of Jung Sub's friends volunteers Yanhua to go on stage to sing a song. The song then captivates Jung Sub, and on their way home he gets curious and starts asking her where she had learned the song from, as the song used to be his wife's favorite. She then reveals that it was taught to her by her ex-boyfriend, who had died some time ago. The next day, while Yanhua was giving Jung Sub a pedicure, he starts talking about his lost son, and mentions to Yanhua that he was about the same age as her when passed away. He then goes on to ask her why she's here taking care of him when she could be spending her youth somewhere else. However, she doesn't give him a good answer and says she's just following the path set out for her. The next day, Jung Sub suffers a painful episode from his illness and starts screaming in anguish. Yanhua quickly knocks on his door to help. However, he asks her to prepare his suit instead and ignores her help. After his pain subsides, Yanhua passes him his suit and then asks her to go to a photo studio to collect a photo. However, when she receives that photo, she realizes that Jung Sub was going to end his own life. Fortunately, she manages to hurry back just in time before anything terrible happens. Yanhua then pleads for Jung Sub to carry on living. At this moment, Jung Sub realizes he has someone to live for now. As days pass, the two start growing closer together, and Jung Sub slowly becomes happier. One day, while Jung Sub was organizing his photos of his wife and son, he starts telling Yanhua that everyone he's ever loved always ends up leaving him one by one, and he reveals that he's afraid Yanhua will do the same. However, she reassures him that she has nowhere to go and will always be by his side. She then diverts the conversation by asking him about his son in the photo. Jung Sub tells her that his son was a very filial man, and he was taken away in a car accident and left the world too young. The next day, Yanhua accompanies Jung Sub for a medical checkup, but shockingly, the doctor tells him that Jung Sub's cancer cell has miraculously stopped spreading, and instead of having 6 months to live, he now has 6 years. The doctor concluded that some patients start to live longer after being more positive about life. While heading back, Jung Sub can be seen smiling, and he can't help but thank Yanhua for everything by holding her hand. As days follow, Jung Sub starts showing more affection towards Yanhua and bringing her to expensive dinners. During dinner, she advises him not to drink so much as he's still sick, but the elated Jung Sub ignores her and ends up drunk. In his drunk state, he tries to get frisky with Yanhua, but she manages to stop him. The disappointed Yanhua then leaves the house, leaving Jung Sub alone. The movie then cuts back to the present, with the reporter leaving Yanhua's house. He then goes on to investigate more about her and soon finds out that she used to be an escort at a nightclub before she was a caregiver. This left the reporter confused. Desperate to know the truth, The reporter goes to find Yanhua again, and he stumbles on a photo of a man whom he found familiar. He asks Yanhua about him, but she brushes it off by asking him to stay for dinner. During dinner, the reporter blatantly asks Yanhua if she had anything to do with the old man's death. Yanhua doesn't answer his question well and instead pours him some wine. She then goes on to tell him more about her past with the old man. After the rejection by Yanhua that night, Jung Sub starts being mean to her again, and he slowly starts falling sick once more. However, despite Jung Sub's nasty attitude towards Yanhua, she still continues to look after him, but this time she does so by wearing revealing clothes and seducing him from time to time. Back to the present, she abruptly stops the story and decides to tell the reporter another story of the night she met her boyfriend instead. It was at the nightclub she worked then, and he was a guest. However, he was very different from the other excited men there. He was shy and quiet. Yanhua starts taking an interest in him as he wasn't like the others. Later that night, Yanhua suffers a headache outside the club, and her crush sees this and offers her some medicine. She laughs at him and calls him adorable. He then takes her out to supper, and the two soon get into a relationship. Back to the present again. The reporter somehow spends the night in Yanhua's home after he got drunk from all the wine he drank. He soon finds Yanhua crying in the shower. She reveals some dark past she had gone through, and then goes on to tell him that she didn't murder the old man and says that she's innocent. The reporter starts feeling bad for her, and the two soon end up holding hands with each other. After a night of holding hands, the reporter wakes up to find Yanhua not around and comes across an old news article about Yanhua's boyfriend. He then recalls that Yanhua's boyfriend's actually the son of the old man, and that her boyfriend didn't really pass away in a car accident, but instead took his own life after a traumatic experience. The reporter, now even more intrigued, starts to investigate further, and he realized that Yanhua had been making love-inducing potions and had spiked both his and the old man's drinks when he was alive. The movie then cuts back to the past, and we see Jung Sub trimming his beard. He then takes out a ring and puts it on a sleeping Yanhua. However, she rejects his proposal and starts acting cold towards him. Jung Sub then offers his house and all his money to her just so she'll accept his marriage, but she rejects them as well. Later that night, Yanhua returns home and Jung Sub continues begging for her love. This is when she reveals that she's actually his dead son's girlfriend, and she's here to get revenge on him. Turns out the cause of Yanhua's boyfriend passing away was due to his own father's hatred. After finding out his son was dating an escort, his father decides to hire some of Yanhua's ex-special clients and gets him to hold hands with her while his son watches the carnal sin. This drives him mad, and he jumps onto a moving car, leaving Yanhua destroyed. After learning the truth, Jung Sub falls to the ground in shock. Yanhua goes to her room and smirks an evil grin. The next day, Jung Sub asks Yanhua for a shower, and after that, he takes his own life while Yanhua starts weeping in her room. Next, we see Yanhua at a train station also wanting to end her life, but she's saved by the spirit of Jung Sub and the child spirit of her ex-boyfriend. The spirit of Jung Sub then tells her that he bears no grudge against her and tells her to live the remainder of her life to the fullest. The movie ends with the ghosts of Jung Sub and her ex-boyfriend waving at her on a train. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this recap, please be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next video.